Grace and peace to all you resonating lights out there. So thankful that you're joining us tonight. Thank you to everyone who is in the building here with us. I have been deemed the MC for the evening, so it was a very last-second decision here, but I am thankful for the opportunity to kick this thing off. I mean, it's like being at the Super Bowl on the header. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the guy that got to kick the ball off.
That's why we gave it to you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm relishing in this moment. We've had a wonderful series of sermons, messages, soliloquies. What would you call them? Is that what we call them? Messages?
Truth.
Yeah.
Truth.
We've had a great series of truth bombs being dropped here recently. Not least from our very own Mr. Kello on Sunday, which was absolutely fantastic. I mean, it was great. I don't know any other way to say it. Awesome delivery. If you haven't had a chance to hear that, or if you weren't here in person, definitely jump on the site there on YouTube, on the Facebook, and I'm not calling it the Facebook. I'm saying our Facebook page, like the Facebook page. They dropped the
They did
early on, because it was called the Facebook, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, they
in
dropped
the movie.
that.
It was Justin Timberlake that did that, so you can thank him for
JT. Yeah, JT. Yeah, thanks, JT. So, anyways. So coming off the heels of Sunday and partially the Sunday before, this idea of being in this swirling with God and with one another, and kind of ultimately brought that back to seeing or understanding how we can be something to someone that they need, and how we go from being self-centered or self-focused to other-centric and others-focused. And then from Sunday, Josh took two wonderful stories of two very godly women, but more specifically, godly beings, right? Divine beings.
Yes.
Not to make the distinction of man and woman, not that there's not distinctions to be made, and not that there is not merit in both the feminine and the masculine, sure, but the understanding that they stand shoulder to shoulder with all of the patriarchs in the Bible, all these men that are spoken about, and we look at their lives and we look at the accomplishments that they had and the way that God used them mightily, but God used these women just as mightily, and some could say in some ways more so than certain others, and they were so much more willing, so much more willing to be a part of whatever it was that God was doing, And I thought about Mary, when you're talking about Mary, but I thought about Mary and her at the wedding in Cana, and how she was almost more gung ho than anybody, right? That, hey, you're capable of doing this. Do something, and it was like that spurring on, and of course, Jesus is like, whoa, Mom, like, chill out. Like, it's not time for this, but at the same time, he was spurred on by his mother. And I think that, of course, that is that feminine spirit, right? That moves us, that moved Adam in the beginning to eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge and, move forward with his life, do something with his existence. And that same divine spirit hovers over us,
right?
Within God, and again, that goes back to the perichoresis, that it's all of God in one being or in one part, you could say, but it's more one being or one energy, whether that's the energy of the Father or the energy of the Son or the energy of the Mother, which is the Spirit. So tonight we want to. It's apropos, right? It's Valentine's Day. Hopefully, maybe hopefully you're not necessarily watching us right now and you're out with your sweetheart, right? Yes, by the way, we love you all. But either way, hopefully if you don't have plans tonight, you got plans for the weekend to celebrate this time of the year. But we wanted to kind of jump in and sort of try to pull together and tie together some of these different ideas that have been presented to sort of help you understand, or help us understand, the divine romance, right? The love that God has for us, and of course the love that we should share for one another.
If I can jump in, there's also this, when you reference what we talked about Sunday and the divine beings that we are, and how that's irrespective of the gender that we inhabit on this earth. The material body that you're in is just that. It is a material body. It does serve a material purpose in the world, but what we get through, what we get past in our understanding, is that we're so much more than that. We're all these divine beings, and you have these patriarchal stories of success, but there's also these matriarchal stories of success.
Yeah.
And it puts them on level playing ground. It helps them stand shoulder to shoulder in our minds, in our thoughts, which will then dictate our actions and our behaviors. In the story that you're talking about with Mary and Jesus at the wedding feast of Cana, if you go backwards in time to when he's 12 years old and he's at the temple, their exchange is the same, but it comes from a different source. The exchange in that situation is she is chiding him for being at the temple, not being at home, not being with the family, being lost in her mind, and he lets her know, I'm about my Father's business. Yeah. And if not now, then when? Mm-hmm. Ooh, and that is something that Mary, in that moment, the way the Greek is broken down in the Scripture, she holds it close in her thoughts. Yep. It's something that captivates her. It's something that holds her, and she has to really think about and deal with. Well, over the course of her lifetime, as she matures as a woman, as a mother, but as a divine being, when Jesus gets older and he's dealing with the apprehensions that the material body and his manhood, his humanity, is now struggling and waging a war with him on when is the right time? When is my moment to step forward? Well, Mary has now been prepared with the enlightenment of truth. She's now grown in the knowledge and wisdom of God. Yeah. And as a divine being, she speaks the same life into her son, the divine being of Jesus Christ, and lets him know, if not now, then when? Yeah. And it's the same exchange on the same level playing ground between both beings.
Good. Love it.
From Jesus to Mary, and then from Mary to Jesus. It comes full circle in the relationship. No wonder at the foot of the cross, when John is the only disciple to make it there, knowing his mother's, his natural mother's, his material world mother's intentions for him, he weds the two, Mary and John, together as mother and son, because he needs the good godly wisdom, the godly influence that will make him into the disciple that writes and pens the Gospel of John and John 1, 2, and 3 and the book of Revelation and so on and so forth.
I mean, what an influence.
Right.
And really it almost makes you wonder if that, and I mean,
well, what's the greater work, right?
Jesus
said greater works.
Yeah.
Look at what Mary produced out of the disciple John.
That's it. That's the key that unlocked, the difference
Jesus
in John's
gets
gospel.
him to the foot of the cross. Mary gets him to be who he's supposed to be.
Yep.
The real John that he is, the one that gets it finally.
Yeah, exactly.
And can be visited finally and see finally how to lead the people of God into the discovery of the divinity within and the divinity that we serve. And it's incredible. I mean, you make that connection. I had thought about it. I didn't include it on Sunday just because we've talked about Mary so much.
Yeah.
But it gets me all amped up because that's exactly the point that we're making.
Yes.
That's exactly the connection that we want everybody to have, is to see that we don't see you as male and female. We don't see you as black, white, yellow, red, whatever the case may be. We see you as the divine beings you are. And that means your potential is to be God.
Yeah.
And that's what we want for you and what we want from you.
Yeah, and it is important for people to understand that, there's a major difference in gender and personality, right?
Right.
So whether you're masculine or feminine within your personality is all sort of dependent on. Well, it's kind of genetics, right? You're born with it, right? Now, obviously, we understand that part of that is also divine, right? You get your personality from God, but obviously, your parents play a part in that, right? Your family plays a part in that, not just your parents. It's actually a really long list, right? Because just like people can look like great great granddaddy Billy, they can also act like a great great granddaddy Billy, baby Billy, baby Billy. Yeah. So, but the difference between male and female, and then masculine, feminine, is that a man can have a feminine personality, and a woman can have a masculine personality, right? Whereas a man can't be a woman and a woman can't be a man, right? As far as biology is concerned. So when it comes to, and generally speaking, like the feminine personality is more open. They are more susceptible to negative emotion, things like that. And then, masculine is generally, again, lower in openness, higher in industriousness and things like that. So it's not all that complicated. It can be, but it's really not all that complicated. But like I said, you have men who have more feminine personalities, and they are more they lean more towards the creative and things like that. More emotional, maybe perhaps more in touch with their own emotions. Whereas you have women who maybe aren't too, right? So those same are on the flip rather. You had something you want to add?
Yeah, there's been a question about perichoresis. So let's talk about perichoresis. Yeah. The biblical context of it. One being John 17:21. And we can.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and Holy Ghost, or Father, Spirit, Son, and us included. So John 17:21, Jesus praying to his Father that they all may be one, as thou, Father, in me, art was added, and I in thee, and they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me. So it's the whole him and me and him and us and them and them and us.
Right. Yeah, I was trying to pull up the little snippet that I had written from the other Sunday, and I apologize, I should have had that. But
well, it's mostly from it's a Greek term to help identify what is happening in John chapter 17.
Correct.
The actual word perichoresis is not found in the Bible,
in the scriptures. Okay.
But sometimes asking that question might be asking or approaching the scripture maybe with the wrong perspective. I would say sometimes is that it's maybe not so much, and I think that especially if you listen to what Josh said Sunday when he talks about the Gospel of Mary, we have to approach it with a lot more openness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're finding truth in so many different places that if you read Bart Ehrman, as far as biblical scholarship goes, Bart Ehrman does a really great job explaining a lot of this.
Yeah,
and I've read a lot of his books, and I hate where he teaches. It's UNC, but what can I say?
Go Heels, baby!
What are you gonna say?
Go Heels!
They lost the other night, but
they did. They did.
Yeah,
you guys aren't any good either. So,
anyways, but Bart Ehrman, he does a really great job explaining this from the biblical scholarship side. But one thing that he brings up is that when we especially read the Gospels, that they are exactly what it says. It is not the history according to John, right, or the history according to Matthew. And when we approach it, we read those texts and we want to talk about the story in Mark where Jairus' daughter is healed. And we want to know, well, that's accurate, right? That actually happened. That really happened. Right?
Prove it.
Well, we want proof.
Right.
Right. Okay, well, there's no iPhone in the first century where we could have recorded that exact thing. Right. So, we're scribes. Okay, well, let's look at the scribes that were actually around at that time. They were not in the lower class areas of Judea. There were most people in that level where Jesus was ministering or teaching. A lot of them did not have the means or the ability to even read or write.
Yep.
So there's not a lot that you're going to get from the biblical scholarship of that. And also, there might be the negative nuance that people want to throw in towards what's considered the Gnostic text or the Gnostic Gospels or the ones that the Gnostics used, because of the date and the data that we have of when they were maybe scribed or when they were written, and they don't maybe line up with where the canonization took place, and maybe they're after canonization or before, and all of this stuff. But the other thing that you have to look at is when was Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John written
Yeah.
over 100 years after
Yep.
Right.
the resurrection of Jesus. So
Mhm.
not unless Matthew lived to be 150 or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't see Matthew writing that. And also when you find some of the other stuff, it's really when you go to antiquities, their idea of writing, and this comes from Tacitus, who was a Roman historian, Josephus even, who was a Roman Jewish historian, that when they talk about this stuff, it's not giving the history as or Eusebius. Eusebius was another one who was a Greek Roman Jewish historian. A lot of the stuff, it's based on narrative. The history that they give is based on narrative. It's based on story.
Yeah.
So getting all the details right was not important to them. What was important is the story.
Man, and yeah, exactly. And that's what I was going to say. Perichoresis is more of a theme that you find,
It is.
right? It's something that overarches the narrative, right? And it's
what Carl Jung would point to, like the archetypes.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what you're drawing from the story itself is the archetype, and it's the archetype that you use to begin framing your world or creating your structures.
Yeah, and it's literally it's like a recurring theme from the very lips of Jesus. John 14, I am in the Father and the Father is in me. And then Jesus, gives the high priestly prayer in John 17, and then of course Colossians 1:19 that it pleased, all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell in Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that whole idea. And then, like I said, the Latin term is circumcision. And the sort of, and this is the trouble with it, right? It's not a word to be defined. It's an idea to be lived, or even you could say a theme, to be lived out in your life. But it's the mutual indwelling, which means two things. First, the three persons of the Trinity are all fully in one another. Second, each person of the Trinity is in full possession of the divine essence. So perichoresis does not deny that, there's a Father, Son, Holy Spirit, or that there's parts of God, right? What perichoresis maintains is that you cannot have one person of the Trinity without having the other two, and you cannot have any person of the Trinity without having the fullness of God. So the intercommunion of the person is reciprocal, of the persons is reciprocal, and their operations are inseparable. And Augustine said, or Augustine, however you say it, each are in each, and all in each, and each in all, and all are one.
Sounds like John 17:21.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. So that all three persons occupy the same divine space.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's the idea. Right.
And there's also, just since we need to point out, and we apologize. Sometimes we get talking about these Greek words and these Greek ideas, and we may not give you all the proper scriptural references from that from time to time, because we're in this book and that book, we're using this person and that person. So we get lost a little bit sometimes. But for context, if you look at Ephesians 4, it's not perichoresis, but it's the word epikorageo.
Yeah.
And it reads like this in verse 16, 4:16. From him flows the original composition and detail of our design. This is from the Mirror translation. Like words entwined in poetry, or epikorageo, like a conductor of music, they connect layer upon layer to complete the harmony, following the rhythm of his thoughts like footprints. Meanwhile, the body thrives and pulsates, dances with the energy of love. Each individual expression finds its complete measure there. Rob Lacey would say this: the church is not a dismembered, dysfunctional body, but a fully functional, coordinated lover of people. Then if you go, and there's more in Ephesians 4 after verse 16, it gets really good, but I don't want to bog us down in that stuff because we're going somewhere with this dance. But Philippians 1, starting with verse 18, I am thrilled. Christ is the topic of conversation everywhere. Even the negative publicity continues to advertise him. Verse 19, I can see how the Spirit of Jesus Christ, like a conductor of music or leader of the dance, takes all of this together with your prayers and turns it into a concert or a performance that celebrates salvation. And the way you come to that epikorageo is the prefix is epi, which means chorus, choir, orchestra, or dance, and then the suffix ago, means to lead. Means to lead as a shepherd leads his sheep. Thus, you can put epikorgeo together in a way to read the scriptures as saying God or Jesus Christ is the leader of our dance or the conductor of our orchestra and our music. So those are with perichoresis, John 17, Philippians 1 verse 19, Ephesians 4:16. Those would be the scriptural background, the basis, the skeleton that we're building off of with this concept.
Yep.
In 2 Peter 1.
Yeah, there's more. Those are just the ones that I had.
Was, I think we talked about that the other. It was where it's listed in King James. It says "add to your faith," as if it's something that you have to add.
Right.
But really, it's like, if you think about an orchestra, and if you ever played in an orchestra, or played whatever part, and the conductor that brings in the brass, maybe a little bit stronger sometimes, or the woodwinds, or whatever it is, and he's just flowing in the song, and sometimes all right, we've got this note that's being played. All right, what if we added in the strings? Oh, man, that's beautiful. What if we brought in a little bit of the brass and make it a little bit louder, and maybe have the timpani with the drums in the background building? And so it's all add to your faith, virtue, add to this, and that's what it is. It's epichoregia. It's the orchestra of your faith. It's the orchestra of your relationship to mankind and your relationship to God.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a beautiful dance. It's a beautiful song. It's beautiful music, and you get caught up in
today. So let's do that. Alan Watts. This is called "Life Is Not a Journey." Okay, so listen here. This is awesome. You'll like it because we did, and we feel like you'll like it. The existence. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me back up just a hair. The physical universe, the existence, is basically playful. There is no necessity for it whatsoever. It isn't going anywhere. That is to say, it doesn't have some destination that it ought to arrive at. And he's talking about existence, the universe. But that it is best understood by the analogy with music, because music as an art form is essentially playful. We say you play the piano. You don't work the piano. I love that.
That's awesome.
You don't play the piano, or you don't work the piano. You play the piano. Yep. I go to work, but when we play music, we don't work music, right? When it turns into work, you use the play, and you kind of lose the dance. It
becomes a performance.
Yeah, it becomes. We could just stop there.
If you work that, it becomes. That's what I thought when I was listening to it. Is that it becomes this performance, and now I have to earn it, I have to work it, and this is something that I enjoy. It's something that you feel, and it's like that movie Soul, where the guy just starts playing the piano and he gets lost, and his soul almost gets disembodied from himself because he's in this ethereal, esoteric realm.
That's what happens to him on a 7-minute guitar solo.
Yes,
we're gonna stop and take time for guitar solos, folks. If you want to hear awesome face-melting guitar solos, come join us on Sunday mornings.
It is true, and I think that's why we make this connection with the Scripture. Is we talk about belief a lot, we talk about truth a lot, we talk about love a lot, but the song, or you hear a song for the first time that just sounds good to you, to my designer who designed me to play.
Right.
I've been very, very, very cognizant and aware that I could not do this and go to these places and do these things without God giving me the gift to do it. And so every time that I play, I want that to be a reflection of my gratitude. Experienced it other times, but consistently on a regular basis. The more and more you give into it, the more and more you get there. It's like with meditation that will happen too, is the quieter you are, the more silent and still you become, the more out of body you get to a higher frequency or vibration of your inner being. And I think music has it's like the conductivity of music is so much higher and so much greater than just about anything else we do on this planet, because it is transcendent in that way that regardless of what the words are or how the arrangement is, a good song is a good song, and everybody knows it's a good song.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
We have those pop charts and those hit charts for a reason. Is that the majority of the people that have heard this song knows that's good music.
Yeah.
There's something about that registers with
even the ones
majority of people.
even on the initial listen, you might hate it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, I can think of a ton of songs that,
Yep.
you know, these are most popular songs right now. You turn it on, it's like, I can't believe people are listening to this. And then 2 days later, you're singing that song.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's the transcendence of what you're saying. Like, it's your lower consciousness responding to the rhythm that's already there.
Well, it transcends your tastes, your preferences, your prejudices, and your biases.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
It
good.
strips away
Yeah.
everything that you could use to find a reason not to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It eliminates excuses, because now you're in a moment where if you just keep playing,
Yeah.
Yep.
if you just keep meditating, if you just keep pushing forward with your prayer or your fasting, if you just do that a little bit longer,
Yep.
and then a little bit longer, and then a little bit longer,
Yep.
where you get to is you're just completely lost in what I believe is God.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're really having this experience where you know He's always there. You know He'll never leave you. You'll know He'll never forsake you. But now you've stepped into this ability to feel and communicate just in your being.
Yeah. And it's a universal language,
Right.
and not just amongst humans either. That's
Right.
the really interesting thing about music. And it's
Sand will create shapes.
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
That's
really
water.
interesting.
Water will
Yeah.
will take on different shapes
Yep.
and do different things.
Yeah,
Our whole universe reacts to the sound of music.
yeah,
And it when we get into this conversation, I think that's where we're trying to get everyone to get to is let's sing and dance. That's what we're here to do. That's the frequency. That's the rhythm we all need to get caught up in.
the hills are alive with the sound of music.
Yeah.
They are.
Yes,
That's
they
like
are.
Trees will clap their
That's
hands.
like-
that's for
in
you.
the Bible.
Did Bob Marley
There's
Marley
no reason to cry me a river there. That's number
did
3.
Bob Marley write Three Little Birds, or did the Three Little Birds write the song?
Right, yeah, yeah,
The Three Little Birds wrote the song.
yeah.
Bob Marley just heard it.
Originally, yes.
Yeah,
that's
Bob
exactly
Marley
right.
wrote
That's
the
right.
song, and now we all have every little thing's going to be all right.
Yep.
You know, well, that you attribute that to Bob Marley, right?
Right.
Bob Marley would attribute it to the Three Little Birds.
Nature would be singing that song.
Let's keep going with this
Go
because
ahead.
this is getting somewhere. So you don't work a piano, you play the piano, and again, this is who did we say the guy's name was? Alan Watts. Alan Watts. Why music differs from, say, travel. Now, this is huge. When you travel, you are trying to get somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
In music, though, one doesn't make the end of the composition the point of the composition. If that were so, the best conductors would be those who played the fastest. And there would be composers who only wrote finales. People who go to a concert just to hear one crackling chord, because that's the end. Same way with dancing. You don't aim at a particular spot in the room, because that's where you will arrive. The whole point of the dancing is the dance. But we don't see that as something brought by our education into our conduct. We have a system of schooling that gives us a completely different impression. It's all graded performance, and what we do is put the child into the corridor of this grade system with a kind of, come on, kitty, kitty, and you go into kindergarten, and that's a great thing because when you finish, you get to go into first grade. Then, come on, first grade leads to second grade, and so on. And then you get out of grade school and you get to high school. It's revving up. The thing is coming. Then you're going to college. Then you graduate school. And when you're through the graduate school, you go out to join the world. Then you get into some racket where you're selling insurance, and they've got your quota to make, and you're going to make that. And all the time, that thing is coming. It's coming. It's coming. This great thing, the success you're working for. Then you wake up one day, about 40 years old, and you say, my God, I've arrived. I'm there. And you don't feel very different from what you've always felt. Look at the people who live to retire, to put those savings away, and then when they're 65, they don't have any energy left. They're more or less impotent, and they go and rot in some old people's senior citizens community because we simply cheated ourselves the whole way down the line. If we thought of life by analogy with a journey, with a pilgrimage, which had a serious purpose at that end, and the thing was to get to that thing at the end, success or whatever it is, or maybe heaven after you're dead. But we missed the point the whole way along. It was a musical thing, and you were supposed to sing or to dance while the music was being played.
Yep.
I'm affirming that our eschatology and our other theologies that put out the kingdom of God, heaven, whatever it is, way out in the future.
Yep.
Yeah.
People dangling out in the middle of nowhere. Put that out there in some way. It's informed everything else about life.
Yep.
And it's influenced everything else about life.
Yep.
That it becomes unlivable.
Yep.
Now everything is in the future.
Mm.
You got to wait to get there.
Mm-hmm.
You got to work to get there. If you want to go to heaven, you want to experience, you want to have love, you want to have all this other stuff. But one day, he'll come back. Jesus is coming back. Jesus is coming back. But no, Jesus is here.
Yeah.
Right? God lives right here. I'm living a divine being. I'm the divine being right now.
Right.
God,
Just as soon as I start getting on the roll.
he's going out.
I had a battery over here somewhere.
Here you go.
No, it's fine. Y'all start talking.
We'll
Y'all
switch
say
the
something
battery
while
out. You're on a roll.
Yes.
But it's
Keep going,
when
butter.
the theology of dispensationalism, rapture, eschatology like that puts everything way out in the future. It's informed when they take that particular perspective and reading of Revelation, you would think that those people would be the pacifists. They would be the ones that are against war. Those would be the ones that are against violence. But you find the complete opposite.
Yep.
Those people are the ones that say, no, we need more war in Israel. We need more. We need all this stuff to take place because their eschatology has informed everything. Their
Right.
politics, the way they believe, the way they interact with the world, the way they interact with each other, and the way they interact with themselves. But when you have a belief system that is predicated on that, then that's what you're going to have. But when you have a belief system that's based on love, that's based on getting into the song and playing the song, and wherever the song ends, if it ends at all, we just came here and played.
That's when we know we're playing
That's when
good
we're
music.
playing.
It's because we're not thinking about ending the song.
No.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
It's just rolling.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the point of the dance anyway. So this past weekend, I know you and Tegan just had a dance as well, your daughter, but my daughter Credence, I took her to a daddy-daughter dance, and first I wasn't gonna go. Like honestly, I had no plans of going to this thing, and Credence was at my parents' house, and my parents tell her, "Hey, there's a daddy-daughter dance," and get her all excited about it, and then she starts crying because they're like, "Oh, but your dad's not gonna take you." Like, thanks, Mom, thanks, Dad. Thanks for that. So then she's crying. She's all tore up about not being able to go to the dance. So then I'm like, well, we happen to have a dress that we bought Melody a few years ago. Let's check and see if it's her size. And it was her size. Wow. So then, bam, next thing you know, we're getting ready. We're getting all dolled up. I'm in my suit, getting ready to go out to this daddy-daughter dance. And she's all excited. She's tickled to death. When you have 4 children, pulling one off from the flock is really, really good for the one.
Oh, yeah.
Because it gets them away from the flock. And it's like, hey, I'm getting some one-on-one time with Dad. And she's just like over the moon giddy about it, And then we get there, and she's like, I want to dance. We eat first, and they start playing some music, and we get out there on the dance floor, and she is so petrified. And I'm like, this little girl has never been this way, ever. So what I believe happened is some sort of pretense come into her mind in that moment. Yeah. Some kind of performance that she was expected to do something that was not what it wasn't what she was expecting for some reason.
Yeah.
So we got out there, and she was just looking at me, and I was like, you don't want to dance? She's like, no, I don't want to dance. So we go sit down. She eats a little bit. She warms up a little bit. Next thing you know, she's ready to go back out there. She's warmed up. She's ready to go. But she doesn't want me to dance like everybody else is dancing. She wants me to dance the way we dance at home. And the way we dance at home is I take her by the hands, and I spin around and 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 around, and I leave with vertigo. That's what happens. So that's what we did the whole night. That was how we danced on that floor, because she didn't want to dance like all the other people were dancing. Yeah. And maybe that was why she immediately had trepidation, because she's like, this is not what I envisioned. I envisioned me and Daddy dancing the way me and Daddy dance. And then as soon as I started spinning her around, boom, we were at the daddy-daughter dance finally, because it was what she wanted it to be. And I think that's what we're saying. It's not just a fit like something you hear. It's something you feel.
Yeah.
There's moments when you interact with people that you're like, I was destined to be in step with this person.
Mhm.
I was destined to have this encounter. I was destined to have this relationship. I was destined to have this relationship. I was destined to know Jeff Walker, who happens to be here tonight. I was destined to meet Bishop Kevin Kello. I was destined to be in this room. It's all part of the dance.
Yeah.
And that's what happened when Credence had that moment of, I'm finally spinning.
Yeah.
I'm finally here. I'm finally where I wanted to be. This is the perichoresis that we're talking about.
You know what they did at her dance, at Tegan's dance? All these kids are in there, and the principal gets up. He's, all right, no running, no running. All right, because there's, the lights are out and there's balloons everywhere and streamers and things. All right, no running. Did not stop them. They were running everywhere. And so they're playing music, and some of it is like, stuff that may have been at my prom.
Right.
Which was 20 years ago, or almost 20 years ago now. But, my 20-year high school reunion is coming up soon. We're in a year. Yeah, that's so great. Anyway, but stuff that would have played then. So it's older stuff. I mean, one song they played was Celebration. Like, was that Cool in the Gang or whatever?
They played that there too.
Yeah. So it's they're not totally into these songs.
Yeah.
These
No.
kids, these 9, 10, 12.
They want to hear Justin Timberlake.
Exactly. They want to hear. We can say mirror too, because when we look in the mirror,
Right,
so
that's fine.
we're
We're
already
just
there.
racking them up.
Now I'm just showing off.
You're just being You're just being
Now we
selfish.
know who the real fan is.
You're just being selfish.
Oh man,
Okay. All right.
It's getting out of hand.
That's the
It is
latest
getting
one,
out of
right?
hand. But what they ended up doing is the music's playing, and a couple of kids open up the door, and right outside the door of the gym is where the playground is, where they have recess.
Mhm.
All right. A couple kids go out there and they start playing. And then a couple more kids are like, hey, we can go outside. And they make an announcement. No, don't go outside and play on the playground. It's dark and we don't want you to do that. And lo and behold, every kid, you start looking around, you're like, well, where's my kid now? Like, she's not in here. None of her friends are in here. You go outside, all the kids are outside. The music's inside going off, which it's not, maybe it is their music, maybe it's not. But you guys get to play with this stuff all the time, don't you? Well, no, not all the time. We come here we have school.
Yeah.
We have classes. We have things that we have to do, and we only get to go out on the playground just for a little bit during the day. Here's our chance. We've never been here at night.
Yeah,
That's what this stuff
yeah,
is going on in my mind. They've never been here at night. They've never played, and they've all got dresses and suits and everything else on, and they're outside having a blast.
Yeah.
Kicking their soccer balls flying through the. I mean, it's chaos. It's absolute chaos. But they're screaming and yelling, and it's not like it is at recess for them while they're at school. This is a completely different game they're playing.
Yeah.
And they went outside to have fun. They got caught up in the fun of it all. They get caught up in the enjoyment, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's lovely, really. I mean, two really prime examples of being in the now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, of course, that's another overarching theme.
To loop this back in, though, is how we started the conversation with Jesus and Mary. Mary, it's what you said. She knew the song.
Yeah.
She knew the part of the song that even Jesus wasn't recognizing yet. She's like, it's time.
And they're at
This
a party.
is the time to play
That's
that
what I was
note.
gonna say, they're at a party.
And Jesus is like, it's not time. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, I hear it
Maybe
now.
it is.
I hear it now.
Yeah, if not,
I know this song.
Now when?
You know that was the kids' lesson Sunday.
No.
That was the Sunday school lesson for the kids for both classes Sunday.
Really?
It's Cana is Mary telling Jesus, your time is or saying,
That's awesome.
but really saying to him, as she says to him, they have no wine.
Yep.
And then, woman, don't you know that my time has not come? And I was back there, I was like, that's kind of smart aleck thing to say to your mom, but he'd said it anyway. And so instead of addressing him at that point, she's just like, whatever. Tells the servants, whatever he says to do, do it.
Yeah.
And so he gives a directive, all right, fill the pots up with water. Okay, well, that doesn't make sense, but we're going to do it. Fill it up with water. All right, now go pour the water out. And when they pour the water out, it's not water, it's wine. It's transformed. Something has happened because he got caught up in the party. He gets caught up in the song and the dance, and here he goes. And I mean, the stuff's you can't make this stuff up. You can't make it up.
Can't make
I had
it
no
up.
idea that was the lesson.
Yeah.
But there's also the idea that when he says to her, should I not be about my Father's business, when he basically says, if not now, then when?
Mm-hmm.
And she holds that close in her thoughts and in her heart and in her mind, then you could almost make the argument that she started hearing that song. And by the time she gets to that moment, she knows that song so well.
Yeah.
She knows it forwards, backwards,
Yep.
jumbled. She can
Yep.
put it all back together. She knows what she's looking for.
Yep.
She's fully aware. She's come to the concept so completely that she recognizes the song that's been quietened in him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because humanity has gotten loud.
yeah.
The noise has gotten loud. The idea behind the announcement, the moment, has gotten really big and noisy. But Mom hears the song as crystal clear as she's ever heard it. And she knows. She knows what to do. See, she may not have said, if not now, then when. But when she goes and gives direction to the servants,
exactly
whatever he
right.
asks of you, that's the action. The Latin phrase is acta non verba.
Yep.
Actions, deeds, not words.
Yep.
She didn't have to speak that. The song was already playing.
Love it.
Yeah.
She heard the song the first time from the very man that
Yep.
stands in front of the servants. He's the one that turned the track on in the first place.
Yep.
If you go over there with the buckets and the pails, he'll recognize the song that I just reminded him of,
Man.
and he'll get into the moment.
The last 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And he forgot it, but then
Mm.
she reminded him,
Mm.
you know, this is the song I sang over you while you slept in your crib. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, and then she reminds him of that,
Gosh.
and then not only that, now it's like a dance off, and she throws the moves to him. She's like,
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
oh, you want to play? Well, let's see what you got, big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But how amazing!
Here's your responsibility.
How amazing is this, though, that he quotes that the Alan Watts says that, you know, like you talked about, you're putting it off. It's one day I'll get there. One day I'll get there. And you see this language even in Jesus,
Man.
the Messiah. My time has not yet come.
Yeah.
Because he
Guess
was fully
what?
man.
It had come.
Yes.
It had come.
Yes.
Yes.
He was, yeah.
It was there.
Right.
The
Yes.
time had come.
Yep.
Mary got it right.
Right.
Jesus got it wrong.
Is it not the same as Eve waking up Adam?
Yes.
though?
100%.
I mean, is it?
100%.
It's the exact
It's the
same
parallel.
concept.
It's the parallel.
I was
Because
literally gonna
she-
say that.
She's the mother that redeems Eve. She's the mother
Yes.
that answers the call
Mm.
adequately and says, "Be it unto me according to thy word," and is the one without sin, without problem, without decay or corruption or anything. She answers it clearly without sin.
Mhm.
She doesn't miss the point. She doesn't miss the mark. She doesn't miss the goal that's in mind.
Wow.
Because to me, she's already, like you've already said, she's connected to something, and it's the Spirit.
Right.
Because when the angel speaks to her, he says that the Spirit is going to hover over you.
Yeah.
The mother is going to come to you, and you'll conceive of the Holy Ghost. So think about this. When this is what I thought of when I was listening to your sermon. The Vedas. It's one of the oldest, arguably one of the oldest religious texts in the world ever in history. And it's the four Hindu texts and they're all mostly written in the form of hymns. And one of them in the Rig Veda, it says, "O scholarly woman, the entire life of society depends upon you. You provide us the right knowledge. You may bring knowledge to all segments of society." O scholarly is another one in the Rig Veda. O scholarly woman, the way a river breaks away mightiest of hills and rocks, the scholarly woman destroys myths and hypes through her intellect alone. May we bow to women through our polite words and noble actions. There's more that I wrote down on here from different Vedas, but one of them a couple of them that I really did like this one right here. But where women are adorned or worshipped in their language, it's Sanskrit, there is where God dwells.
Mhm.
So it's where this acknowledgement of the Spirit, where the Spirit is, there is liberty. So that's the thing that kept catching me when I've seen this or I've saw it and read it in some of these Hindu religious texts. That this is where the Spirit of the Lord is. There is liberty, and the Spirit is always going to be connected to that motherly female aspect of God.
Yeah.
So where the mother is worshipped, adorned, acknowledged, then that's where you're going to find God.
Mhm.
You're going to find God dwelling right there
That's good.
in this
That's good.
dance, in this perichoresis, in this communion of beings, this Elohim that has said, let us make mankind in our image, give them our likeness, our dominion, and then hover over, swirl over all of this creation.
Yeah, it's the same idea of the ancient Jews after the temple was destroyed.
Yes.
Before the second temple was built, there was this idea that simply reading the Torah with another person, that's where the Shekinah, where the glory of God was dwelling. So literally just being in contact with another and having a divine conversation, right? That's where the Spirit of God is hovering, where His glory is revealed.
Let's jump into John 2 here. We got to hit this while we're here. John 2, verse 2, this is out of the mirror. Jesus and his followers were also invited, talking about the wedding feast in Cana. Verse 3, when Mary learned that they had run out of wine, she informed Jesus. He responded with, well, ma'am, that's their problem. Or do you want me to steal the show here at somebody else's wedding when my hour of fulfilling my mission has not yet come? ? Verse 5 is where the money's made, though. Mary proceeded to line up the waiters to assist Jesus. Do whatever he tells you to do. So Mary persisted. It was the persistent influence of a woman.
Right.
Even in our Messiah people. Like, this is what we're trying to get to tonight. Like, understand that this dance and this song is important for you to hear, as it is the Messiah himself.
Right.
You're part of the music. We're all part of the dance. If Mary had not been humming that song in her head for 20 years, that moment would not have happened. But she knew the song. She knew when man's, and this is what Francois talks about in his notes, when religion runs out of their wine, when religion runs out of the wine, the real wine's ready. So we're ready here with real wine. Are you tired? Are you thirsty? Are you thirsty? Come. Drink of these waters. Come. Are you burnt out on everything that you're seeing on social media about the church and all this? Whatever side of the aisle someone may be on with the commercial that played during the Super Bowl, why don't you come here? Why don't you come here where we're not trying to even run in that race anymore? We're not in the religious dogmatic debates. We're in the real reality of playing our song, of dancing our dance, of living this dream together. So that's my invitation to the world to come to the Gathering Echo, New Testament Church of the Firstborn. We invite all of you. Everyone's invited. You don't have to come dressed up. You don't have to come in any sort of way. We just invite you to the table because we have a great meal prepared for you every single time we open the doors. But she has that persistence to not even hear the words of God. I mean, the angels told her this is God. She didn't even heed what God said in that moment because, like you said, he was fully man. He was doing what we do tomorrow, one day, when I graduate, when I get my bachelor's degree, when I get the job, when I get married, when I have the kids, when I'm a grandpa. And you realize that you missed the whole thing. And this is what she's saying to Jesus. You're missing it. But she didn't say it. She didn't even argue with him. And that's what I'm saying to you. Let's stop arguing about these same religious, dogmatic, pointless arguments with people and just start dancing. That's what Mary did. She said, I'm not even going to listen to your manthropos right now.
Manthropos.
I'm not even going to listen to your manhood, Jesus.
You're mansplaining.
You're mansplaining this moment. Like, what are you talking?
Mansplaining away your godhood.
Yeah.
I don't like it, Jesus.
She didn't even partake in the argument.
She didn't even get in the back and forth.
She didn't even do it. She went over to the waiters and said, "He's coming."
She said, "Well, now this is happening."
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now this is happening.
Well, now this is happening. That's how I roll. You got serving some buckets coming.
But man, how many times has your mom or your wife done that? I mean, how many times has your wife done that for you?
It's an awakening for sure for
Yes.
Jesus. Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking when you said it. Is Eve wakes up Adam, Mary wakes up Jesus in that moment. Hey, it's not in the future.
Right.
It's not another day. There's not another time for it. It's your dance number
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Right now.
and that's it leads me, or that leads us into a book that I'm having to read for school.
The leader of the dance has led you somewhere? Please,
Well.
pray tell. To
Yeah,
where?
It's so the book is called The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, by Dr. John Gottman, and he and his wife are like basically the leading authorities on relationships and marriage and couples and things like that. So they have an institute, and they've been doing this for decades. But he says in this book, and this is the title of this, it's 7 principles. So this is principle number 3: turn toward each other instead of away. Because a lot of times what happens is, especially within, your relationships or whatever, you have a tendency to, if somebody gets offended or somebody gets hurt or somebody gets angry or somebody gets upset or whatever, or maybe just if you're stressed, you're anxious, you're upset, you're overwhelmed, whatever, you tend to turn away rather than towards your partner.
Yeah.
And so we can do the same thing with God. A lot of times, we can find ourselves turning inward instead of, like the moment that you had with Credence, that she wanted to dance.
Mm-hmm.
She knew that she wanted to be a part of all of this, but she wanted it to be, a specific way.
Her
right?
dance.
Yeah, her dance. Yeah, exactly. But she turned to the one that could lead her into that dance. The only one, right? Because she can't pick herself up and spin herself around the room.
Wow.
The only one that could lead her into that dance was her father.
Wow.
And so it's the same for us, but our partner, our husband, right, who is God, who is Christ, the Spirit, it's all of God, the fullness of God. That's the one that we're married to, because he's the one who betrothed himself to us, not because we made that choice, by the way.
Yeah.
Because, yes, we may want to be with him, but he's the one who decided that from the beginning, that he loved us so much that he was going to betroth himself to us. But at one point in this principle, he's explaining, some different ways that people can learn to turn towards their partner. He says the first step in turning toward each other more is simply to be aware of how crucial these mini moments are. So he's talking about little interactions throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout your month, because let's be honest, it's not the big moments, it's not the big events, it's not the birthdays and anniversaries and vacation trips that make up your life. It's the everyday. That's why the Buddhists say, that you have to learn to be content or find joy in the laundry of life. That's the everyday stuff that you do, and it quite literally may be laundry, but it may be just simple tasks, right? And little conversations. So not only to your marriage's trust level, but to its ongoing sense of romance. For many couples, just realizing that they shouldn't take their everyday interactions for granted makes an enormous difference in their relationship. Remind yourself that being helpful to each other will do far more for the strength and passion of your marriage than a 2-week Bahamas getaway, because a lot of times that's what we think, not just in our relationships, but also in our spiritual, in our connectedness with God, that we think that we need to have some big, huge revelation, or we need to have some great big spiritual awakening, or we need to have this moment.
Yeah.
I gotta say this to honor Toby Keith here, but it's something we all do. We listen to that. We live like Toby Keith in that song where he says, "Weekend's here, good God Almighty, let's get drunk and be somebody." That's how the world lives, and that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, we got to get to that next vacation,
Yep.
got to get to that next weekend.
Yeah.
But we're not. That's the everyday laundry. That's what you're saying. Go for it.
Yeah, he says, many people think that the secret to reconnecting with their partner is a vacation by the sea, but a romantic outing only turns up the heat if a couple has kept the pilot light burning by staying in touch in the little ways. And again, this translates into your spiritual life. It's easy. Let me skip that. Nope, that was it. Sorry, that was the last piece. It only turns up the heat if the couple has kept the pilot light burning by staying in touch in the little ways. And that's really where we have to find God in everything that we do. We have to find God in all the little moments. We have to find, just like Josh has said, so much and so well, that we have to see others as God. We have to see God within others. We have to see them in their divine, or as a divine being. And again, we have to recognize God in those little moments that we have throughout the day, whatever that is, because the reality is that He's there with us, whether it's good or it's bad. He's there with us, right? He is the God who sits alongside you and cries when you're heartbroken and when you're depressed and you're down and you've lost everything and whatever the case may be. He's also the one who dances and celebrates when you're up and you're victorious and all those things, right? But yeah.
So God's in the laundry.
God's in the laundry.
God's in the laundry.
God's in the laundry. And
No, I think that speaks to what we were able to accomplish Sunday with the dinner, is that there's this idea of these little things that can be done. Just who's going to pick up the food? Who's going to set the table? Who's going to warm the food? Who's going to serve the drinks? Who's going to get the ice and fill up the cups? It's those little moments that we find God in. And I think that's why Jesus says that at the end of washing the disciples' feet, is happy you'll be if you'll do this. Wrong endeavor. It's a wrong aim.
Right.
Because happiness is fleeting. It's a moment. It's the happiness in the moment where you took the snapshot. That's just a snapshot in your life. What, Michael, you're saying is so poignant, because that's one moment. You spent the whole day together. You spent the whole night together. You spent the whole week. You spent the last 10 years together. That's just a moment. So to pursue that moment is a futile endeavor. It won't suit your purpose, and it won't help you get through the suffering that is life.
Exactly.
It's continuing to do the little things. Because the more little things you do, the happier you're going to be. And the happier you're going to be with the person that you're with, and the happier that person is going to be with you.
And how many times have you set up something, whether it's a date or it's a trip or it's a whatever, and it just totally failed to shambles. I mean, it's a total disaster, right? Like, the dinner was bad, the service was horrible, the food was cold, I mean, you stubbed your toe.
I'm going to tell you this. She's going to kill me. On my way, I had hired a videographer, went to the place that my wife wanted to get married, but we don't have that much money. We're broke. So we weren't going to get married there, so we went to this place because I wanted to take her there. They had this little event that was going on, this little mix and mingle, really upper-class stuff. We did not fit in at all. But I'm on the way, and I had planned to propose to her and have all of it videoed and be this huge surprise. And it's all set up, and it's all great. We got into such a back and forth on the way there. I literally said, I'm going to turn this car around. She had no idea what I was planning to do. She just thought we were going out. Just hanging out, like going out on a date. And I literally contemplated, like, this is a red flag. I'm going to turn this car around. I will not do this tonight.
It's a trap.
I will not make this decision.
It's a trap.
It was a disaster. We get there. She's mad. I'm mad. We're fuming. As we're walking up, though, it all begins to lift.
Oh, man.
It all begins to fade. A smile comes back to her face.
Yeah.
Brings a smile to mine. We walk, and honestly, I kind of forgot that I was mad because she accidentally spotted the videographer, but there was another event going on, so I just said, oh, they probably hired him to do that video. But that has nothing. So that was a lie. I apologize. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Dr. Peterson, don't judge me. And in that moment, I lied. But like you're saying, it's you have these things that you set up, you put all this effort into it, and you're really trying to make it special for someone else. But the pressure that you put on yourself to do that is too much. Because like we're all saying, like everybody has made in their own poignant way, the song is already played.
Right.
It's your moment to dance. Without having to earn it, without having to work for it, without having to put forth an effort, just dance.
Just turn to your partner. Just
turn
towards your partner.
Turn towards your partner
because
so
he's going to lead you. Right? The Spirit is going to lead you.
I have one of those stories. This is when we only had 2 children, like many moons ago. but Malachi and Melody were little, and we had this big planned vacation. It went well, but me being, me, we're about to go home, and I think, well, we left early because we check out. You check out at 11 a.m. or whatever, so we checked out, and then I looked up on my phone this other public access beach that looked interesting, right? So I'm like, I'm going to take my kids to this one more last hurrah for our beach vacation, right? So then as we start heading that way, we hit traffic. Now, it's only a few miles down the road. It ended up taking us an hour to drive from where our hotel was to this other public beach access. We get out there, and I lie you not, this is some kind of state park. I can't even remember the name of the beach. It looked like Desert Storm. It looked like a war in the Middle East. There were tents set up. There were people out there prepared for that wind to be that way. And I immediately realized that I'd made the worst decision.
Yeah.
Because I get out there, and these people are in, like, tactical tents. Like, they're enjoying their day in their tent. Nobody's on the beach. Nobody's in the water. Because this sand is hitting your face and making people bleed. And I'm like,
People have been living
well,
off
we
the
drove
land all
this
week.
far. We drove this far to get here.
We're going.
We're going. So here I am dragging these two little poor kids in this raging inferno of sand. And I'll never forget it. We're down there, and I'm trying my best to make the most of this stupid idea that I had. It's so stupid. We just had to go home. I'd already went on vacation. The kids just wanted to go home. But this that vacation, right? We got to. This is it. This is what we live for. I remember the exact moment when my little girl, and Melody may have been 3 or 4, but the sand's just pelting her face. Her hair's blowing everywhere, and she screams, "Why did we come here?" That has lived in my memory forever. And it's been a signpost and a leading voice in my life to say, vacation ain't what it's always cracked up to be. So enjoy the moment. Enjoy the laundry of life. Enjoy the everyday dance. Are you at home right now just sitting around eating a PB&J? I mean, invite somebody else to eat the PB&J. Maybe the person sitting next to you wants a PB&J. Maybe they're wanting to enjoy some time with you tonight. I don't know. When's the last time you just sat down with your kids, if you have kids, or maybe you just did something different besides watching Maury Povich or whatever it is you do on the couch at night?
How old are you?
Yeah.
Maury Povich?
I mean, it's just what came to my mind. But anyway.
During the day. Right?
But
you know what he watched growing up.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
When you're at home with the flu,
light,
that's
the guiding light.
It's
Daytime
Maury.
television.
It's Maury, and The Price is Right. When you're at home with the flu.
Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer was
Yo,
on.
blue hair.
But getting down on the floor and playing with the kids, like so many times I hear my kids like, "Daddy, just come play, And it's like Pastor or Bishop Keller talks about this moment when he was teaching Sunday school, I believe, when he actually got down in the floor and started coloring with the children. And he was transcended to the third heaven that you're speaking about.
Right.
It's the same thing, guys. When Paul talks about it when John talks about it in Revelation, he calls it the third heaven. We're calling it the dance, the song. I mean, it's the mystery, the mysterion, the joy of God.
And maybe stop trying to find a way to use the third heaven and its explanation as an excuse not to go there. Maybe give yourself to the idea that your belief in God is bigger than your understanding of what that means.
Yeah, that's good.
That maybe your belief in God has already given you the steps that you're supposed to make in the dance that you're going to perform with Him. Maybe you've already been given the notes that God wants you to play when He's conducting the orchestra of our lives together.
Yeah.
So many times we have these conversations, and they get very deep, and they get very spiritual, and they get very biblical and theological. And I think what we're trying to say tonight in summation is stop complicating it. Yeah. Have your experience with God. We know we believe. It's what we do with that belief. And when we retreat within ourselves, like we've talked about, when we begin to remove the dye and the slides on our projector to reveal the light that God has put within us to share with the world, there's no better demonstration of how bright that light is than spinning round and round with the Father of all lights.
Yeah.
The light in whom there is no variableness. In this wonderful display of song and dance. The third heaven is for everyone. It's for you. It's for me. It's for all of us. And how you get there, whether it be by prayer or fasting, meditation, playing an instrument, singing for God, or sitting in silence and being very still.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you get there. Understand that you can get there. And just because you don't understand the words that you use to describe it, you don't have to use those words. You don't have to describe it the way allegedly Paul described it. You don't have to put it in those terms if those terms become a stumbling block or a barrier for you to get there. You can look at it as simply as a father who takes his daughter to a dance.
Do you know what the definition of romance is according to Webster? It's a feeling of excitement and mystery associated with love, a quality or feeling of mystery, excitement, and remoteness from everyday life.
Wow.
Get lost in the spirit for a while,
That's it,
and you'll see that the things of this material world pale in comparison.
Yeah.
It just doesn't match up.
And the tonight, what it is an invitation, right? And it's one of the things that Gottman points out in the book, the Principles book, is that most of the time couples, they don't do this out of malicious intent or anything like that, but they miss the bid from their partner. They miss the bid from their partner to join in, right? To connect, to turn towards one another. And I think oftentimes we miss that bid to turn towards God, because our lives are so busy, because we're so distracted, because we're so consumed by all the things that we have to do. And we can't just be in the moment. We can't live in the here and now, but God is constantly beckoning you, bidding you come up higher, come to me, come with me. I'm going to close it out with this last scripture, unless you guys got anything else to add.
The only thing I would add, since you're saying this so much about being towards, we got to talk about in the beginning, just real quick.
Face to face.
In the beginning was the Word, was the Logos, and the Logos was pros, face to face with God.
Also, one more thing on just the
Hey,
married
Shirley, we want to talk to Shirley. I can't see her last name. Somebody read it. Shirley, we hear you. I'm looking for a local church. I'm in the Mirror Translation, Francois Dutoit.
You're in the right place then.
You're here.
Well, we're big fans.
We're there.
Welcome in.
But on the Mary to Jesus point in the wedding feast of Cana, because of her recognition of the moment, because of her memorization and her love of the song, because of her recognition of that being the time and place, what she did, her actions weren't to turn Jesus towards her. It's actually the opposite. She turns from Jesus, so Jesus will turn back to his Father.
It's part of the dance.
It's good.
It's part of the dance.
It's good.
She served her part of the dance.
Absolutely.
She did what she needed to do.
Absolutely.
She kick-started the dance off, and guess what?
Spun him out.
Now the dance moved. Now the dance partner's changed.
So
you're no longer in the house. You're no longer to consider yourself bound by this material world and your connection even to me as your material mother. I need you to turn back to what you knew at 12.
Exactly.
I need you to hear that song again.
Yes. Turned back to his original partner.
Yes.
And then in that swirling now, and again, that's only for a time and space as well.
Yeah.
Because from that place he's going to be turned out to others. Because from that point on, right? Once he gets baptized, he goes into the wilderness, and now
it's face to face with the world.
Oh my goodness, that's wonderful.
And he turns again go a step further at the foot of the cross. He turns Mary and John.
Oh yes.
To each
To
other,
one
so
another.
that Mary will turn
Activate
John
him.
back
God.
to God again.
Yep.
All the way, just
Also-
like she did for him in Cana.
Just
This
so
is another
God can
son.
turn John back out
Right.
All right.
to us.
So we're trying to turn you guys towards us for a moment. We are in Gastonia, North Carolina. We're at 1508 Hargrove Avenue. That's where we gather every Sunday at 10 a.m. So if you're in Belmont, Shirley, it's worth the drive.
Come
Yeah,
on
definitely,
down.
definitely.
Come
We wanna
on
see ya.
down. We are affiliated with Francois and Lydia Detroit. They came a little over a year ago. It was Lydia that heard the Holy
That's
Spirit
exactly
and
right.
led Francois here.
That's right.
So there's so many things popping here, and we're asking everyone, inviting everyone to the love feast.
Yeah.
It's a love feast. Read it, man.
And that's apropos because here we are in 1 Corinthians 13.
There you go.
This is the good news translation. Love is eternal. There are inspired messages, but they are temporary. There are gifts of speaking in strange tongues, but they will cease. There is knowledge, but it will pass. For gifts of knowledge and of inspired messages are only partial, but when what is perfect comes, then what is partial will disappear. When I was a child, my speech, feelings, and thinking were all those of a child. Now that I'm an adult, I have no more use for childish ways. What we see now is like a dim image in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. What I know is only partial. Then it will be complete as God's knowledge of me. Meanwhile, these three remain: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these, well, it's love. So God bless you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you like, share, comment, subscribe. If you want to give to our ministry here, to the Gathering Echo, feel free to click the link there in the comments. Otherwise, we will see you guys on the next episode. God bless you. I love him.
Because he first.
See you first. Love me.
Love me.
Thank you.